Good evening, everybody. This is Marty from Dawgs Blog. Tonight's podcast on January, what's the date today? 31st, 2019. There's no court tomorrow. That's a reminder right off the top. And also, I'm going to put up a poll here pretty soon to see what people's interests are. I'm offered some deals to go back to Blog Talk Radio, even though I had some problems with that. But if people like the Blog Talk Radio format, please let me know if you like it better. I'll put up a poll in regards to that. Or if you like the Spreaker format better. The Blog Talk format, the only difference is it has a call-in feature. But there's not that many people that call in. There is a few, but not that many typically. So, like I said, there'll be a poll up there. You can tell me what you guys, how you guys want to do it. So the afternoon session started with the jury. I was up around 1:32. The judge was on the bench at 1:36. Not too bad. The Marlissa Ferreira started to go into her redirect of Robert Woody again, and judge called a sidebar. There's something she forgot. So the jury's sitting there, they're doing a sidebar, and they're, whatever it is they're doing, I don't know what's going on in the sidebars. So whatever they're doing up there, I don't know. So that was only a couple minutes. Marlissa Ferreira goes back to her redirect on Robert Woody. Talked about his nephew, Robert Bronco, that he had worked at Pop and Cork. It sounded like he didn't. It was an off and on type of thing, or not very long. I'm not really sure, but there was a conversation, he said, with Daljit Atwal and Robert Bronco and Robert Woody. And I just forgot to do something again. I'm sometimes I'm a dumbass. I apologize. Okay. And so anyway, there was a conversation with Robert Bronco, Robert Woody, and Daljit Atwal. She asked him if this conversation occurred before or after Corey Kaufman went missing. And he didn't really, Robert Woody doesn't remember anything. And when they have him refresh on these transcripts, he's refreshing what he said in that interview or previously in court, not helping his individual recall. And this is the downside of it, because he doesn't remember. I don't know. Maybe he can't remember what never happened. I don't know. He said there was no one else present with Robert Bronco, Woody, and Daljit Atwal in this conversation. I think Marlissa Ferreira was trying to go somewhere with that somebody else was there involved in the conversation or something, but Woody just didn't go for it. So there was a lot of objections. I think this thing was going somewhere. The attorneys knew where it was going. I'm not sure where it was going, to be honest with you. The jury was sent out at 1:50, so they were in there for 14 minutes. Robert Woody was sent out. And Judge Aniga asked Marlissa Ferreira for copies of the documents that she wants to use in review of Robert Woody. Now, I'm trying to recall exactly what the issue is here, but most of the time when they refresh Robert Woody's memory with a transcript, they let him read the whole page or the next page, and he keeps asking to be able to do that. So he can gives him a little bit of reference and how and it's just not one or two lines. They let him read the whole page or whatever. Well, the judge doesn't want him doing that with these documents for some reason. There's something there, and they did say, and I'm drawing a blank on it right now. Judge Aniga said it's okay to refresh, but there's a problem. She doesn't want him reading. It's because of some of the comments that are apparently made, according to Woody, that could be prejudicial, and they have not been allowed. That's what it is. And so she only wants him to read a real small just a few lines and not the whole paragraph. Unless Marlissa Ferreira is able to lay a proper foundation. So we'll see. She apparently wasn't able to do that because you said there was nobody else there, and all this other stuff. So and what was said, and I don't know what it is. The judge has not allowed. Attorney Hans says it's improper to refresh his memory on another person's statement. And this is what Marlissa Ferreira is trying to get this statement out, whatever it is, but it's not said by Woody. It's said by somebody else, so it's not proper refresh on somebody else's statement. It makes it hearsay, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand all the legalities of this sometimes. I understand some of it, but some of the finer points escape me. Jai Gohill argued it's 352. That's of the evidence code that's saying it could be an undue consumption of time, or it's not allowed under the evidence code for whatever reasons. He said that Robert Woody cannot remember, and still Marlissa Ferreira wants to refresh his memory after he said he didn't remember. So she kept trying to go back like a second time and do it, and that's not allowed. Judge Iniga said Marlissa Ferreira needs to lay a foundation. And she cannot show Robert Woody the document yet. She hasn't laid her foundation, to establish that that's what needs to be done at that point. Jai Gohill argued that Marlissa Ferreira will get Robert Woody to just submit to what she wants him to say after he figures it out what he said. And Robert Woody is very streetwise. Don't get me wrong, he is streetwise. He just has no recall. Either he's unable to remember anything for drug use or whatever it is, or he wasn't there, or whatever it was. Robert Woody has no recall. So she's trying to get him to say something by having him read transcripts of other things. That's what it sounds like to me what's going on here. And he said that is what Marlissa Ferreira does with Robert Woody and many of her other witnesses. The judge simply said that she just needs to establish more of a foundation if that's what she wants to do. Robert Woody came back in. The jury came back in. They were out about 8 minutes or so. They came back in at 1:58 p.m. So Marlissa Ferreira asked Woody if he recalled what they were talking about when there was the objections, and then that led to more objections. And they're objecting now that she's just kind of talking in general terms. They have to kind of establish a time frame. They have to establish, that we know exactly what that the witness is talking about, things like that. So there's objections to the time frame, when the conversation occurred with Bronco, the Daljeet Atwal, if it was prior to the missing person case or not. Again, Robert Woody did not recall. Again, after he read the transcript, again, he did not recall. Marlissa Ferreira wanted to ask him again if he wanted to read, wanted to refresh his memory again, led to a bunch of objections, because once they get refreshed, they still don't recall. That's supposed to be it. They don't get multiple bites of the apple. And this led to a whole slew of objections again, as there was plenty. There was ongoing leading questions. And I also noted, too, that Judge Iniga with Marlissa Ferreira is not sustaining the leading objections. She just tells her to ask it again, or rephrase. The term she likes to use is rephrase. She's not saying objection sustained that the defense attorneys give. She just tells Marlissa Ferreira to rephrase it. So I don't know if that's a legal technical point or not. I have no idea. Judge Iniga wanted to know what she wanted to refresh again. With Woody, Marlissa gives a cite of the page and the paragraph. Now, what they did with the last refresh he just did, they ended up folding up the paper so just those lines that she wanted him to read were visible, and he was told not to read any other lines because he likes to read the whole page or the next page too. This led to a sidebar. Apparently Zuniga was concerned again about him reading more than what he's supposed to, or getting refreshed on some things that he shouldn't get refreshed with. She is concerned about Robert Woody as a witness because sometimes there's no telling what he's going to say. So Marlissa Ferreira did show Robert Woody the transcript to refresh. Again, she folded up the paper. She gave it to him. Just those two lines were visible, and I believe they had a highlighter on them. And she told him just read those two lines and those two lines only. It was a conversation with Dawgs, Robert Bronco, at Pop and Cork. And again, assumes facts not in evidence was the objection by the defense. Again, sustained by the judge, the way that she keeps asking questions. Robert Woody did say that Carson was having problems with thefts. Apparently that's along the lines of the conversation they were having. He did not recall when that conversation occurred with Robert Bronco. Has asked if any further conversations occurred. He did not recall. Again, refreshing with an objection. And Judge Iniga, again, wanted to read what she was going to refresh with, and apparently it was just 3 lines. And again, they had to fold up the paper, so he didn't read anything else, and he was not allowed to turn the paper over or anything else. This all happened in the sidebar. Again, he said he did refresh with those 3 lines, but he says he doesn't recall. He still doesn't recall. So, and Marlissa Ferreira again asked him, "You don't recall at all?" Objections. Once he says he doesn't recall, he gets refreshed with a transcript of previous testimony or statements in interviews. He says he still doesn't recall. He doesn't have the memory. She doesn't get to ask again. That's it. So, so she moved on back to the body wire, and asked him that Miranda Dykes had on when he was talking about the body being fed to pigs somewhere up in the mountains. He has asked if he recalls everything that he said in regards to Frank Carson on that body wire. He did not recall. Again, she refreshed with transcript. Objection. Judge Iniga reviewing again. She overrules the objection. And the attorneys were objecting under 352, that's under the evidence code, that it's improper way to present evidence. And 1101, and if you remember 1101, that's prior bad acts. So if they're talking about something that's a prior, that somebody may have done before, but it's unrelated as may have done before in their past to have a history, that's not, and the judge has ruled what is and isn't admissible, and so it wasn't admissible. Robert Woody then, the judge overruled, and Robert Woody was reading and asked if he's refreshed. He says correct to everything, which means yes. He had told Miranda Dykes that the lawyer, and he says the lawyer he referred to was Frank Carson, was a former Modesto Police Department cop. So he's saying that Frank Carson used to be a Modesto police officer. Michael Monachia said that Frank Carson used to be a CHP officer. So, okay. There was something that was said right after that. I did not hear exactly what he said. And he kind of mumbled it, so I didn't hear what he said, and didn't get picked up on the mic that I could hear. And Judge had stricken his answer, whatever it was. So just the first part he said yes, and then he mumbled something, and she struck the rest of what he said after yes. Marlissa Fair asked him if he recalled what Frank Carson said, or what he said about Frank Carson being his lawyer to Miranda Dykes. And again, he said Frank Carson said he was once a Modesto police officer and then had become a lawyer. He did not recall anything else that he said along that lines. I refreshed again. And then he says, did he tell Miranda Dykes who the lawyer he was talking about? And he said, yes, Frank Carson. So we go back to the March 1st of 2014 interview. And if you remember now, that's the first time that Robert Woody was taken into custody. He was actually taken into custody February 28th, 2014, and interviewed overnight into the morning hours of March 1st, 2014. He did not recall telling any officers about the missing, Corey Coffin missing issues that night. He did not recall saying anything about that. He did not recall where it happened. Read the transcript of the March 1st of 2014 interview and asked if it refreshes. He says yes. Did he tell the investigators what occurred? He says yes, it occurred on Frank Carson's property. And they went into the gate on the property. And that's not what he said the other day, but he said it wasn't on the property. He said it was on the street or something. They were involved in an altercation with an individual that he knew as Corey Kaufman. He asked if the altercation occurred because of the thefts going on the property, and apparently Baljeet Atwal later on said that he'd been trolling the property. And this is the first time, it was afterwards, that he was told to keep his mouth shut. He was asked if he said anything to officers. He said yes on March 1st of 2014. He had told Bunch, Evers, and Jacobson. He did not recall where he was told, though, by the Atwal brothers to keep his mouth shut. So he remembers that, but he doesn't remember real well, apparently. He was told by the Atwals on the property and the store to keep his mouth shut before and after the alleged homicide. He said he did describe the altercation to the officers on March 1st. There was objections when she asked how did all this make him feel, being told to keep his mouth shut and things like that. The objections led to a sidebar again. Again, he was refreshing with the interview from March 1st of 2014. And she also asked him again if he went to Frank Carson's office on the Mike Cooley, the day he visited Mike Cooley's house. He said yes, he went to Frank Carson. That was the day of his court hearing. She asked him, Marlissa Ferrer asked him if there was a period that Baljeet Atwal was alone with Frank Carson. He did not recall. Some things came out in sidebar. Apparently something about he'd stepped outside to smoke a cigarette, but Marlissa Ferreira wanted him to testify something to the effect that Baljeet Atwal was alone with Frank Carson, but he wouldn't know that if he was outside. And so it eventually got... Jai Gohil argued there was no foundation for her to even ask that because he's outside smoking a cigarette. How would he know? He'd have no idea what's going on in the office. So the jury hadn't been actually taken off out of the room at that time, and Woody off the stand, and they were out at 2:53 while they had to discuss this issue. The judge sustained pretty much what Jai Gohil said. There's no way for him to know what's going on inside if he's outside. We took a break. We came back around 3:20. The judge called the attorneys in chambers. And I have no idea what it's about, but I can kind of guess. But I don't really know. I think it was about scheduling and trying. The judge, the jurors are asking for a date that this thing is going to finish. They've got employers putting pressure on them. I think some of them may not be getting paid anymore. I don't know. And so they really want to know how much longer this thing is going to go on. And they sent a couple notes to the judge the other day, and she hasn't answered the question. And when Jai mentioned that just before they went outside for break, Jai asked the judge, are you going to give the jury a finish date on this? And she says, she said something to the effect, this is a very embarrassing situation, and she has to figure out the proper way to put it to him. I don't know why it's embarrassing to give them a finish date unless you're not going to tell them the truth. Other than that, I don't know. And I didn't understand the comment. This led up to some other things in a few minutes. So that's just a little bit of a prelude. That's why I went into so much detail with that. Jury came back up around 3:47. Again, Marlissa Ferrer doing redirect on Woody. Again, talking about the March 1st of 2014 interview. He said he gave law enforcement some facts about the altercation with Corey Kaufman. He did not recall if he gave him any facts before they went on the infamous bathroom break. She asked him if he recalled specifically if he held some information back that he didn't tell him. He said yes. He says he recalls not saying anything about the beating, the shouting, the body removal. He held all that back from the investigators at the time. Talking about the March 14th, 2014 interview, they're calling it an interview, but that was actually the day he took the polygraph, which they can't use the term polygraph in court. And when he interviewed with Agent Jefferson, who's a polygraph examiner, He does a pre-interview, and then he does the exam. And in that interview, he denied Frank Carson did anything. He was asked why then did he deny things again. He doesn't really know why. He doesn't know why he does what he does. He was asked about if meals were provided when he did that interview and other interviews and the transportation. He said he was not fed by Tuolumne County when he was on days that he was transported, and some of these things going on. So they fed him, and if I remember right, they fed some of his family too when he was first arrested, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure on that. He received fast food. They went through drive-thrus for fast food on the transportation from Tuolumne County down to here, coming to Stanislaus County. He also had a couple of visits with his family at the district attorney's office while he was housed at Tuolumne County. So when they brought him down for interviews or court dates or whatever, they let him have visits. And this I know for a fact myself because I went to one of the Robert Woody's hearings that was in a different court at the time. And Beverly Woody was there and some family members were there. And Dale Lingerfelt and Steve Jacobson took Robert Woody out of the courtroom, walked him out the hallway and out the front door towards the district attorney's office. And I was talking to Beverly Woody, and she says, I got to go visit with my son. So she was getting, because he was here for something else, and I believe it was like in Department 8 or somewhere down there. And she got to go visit with her son after his court appearance. And they walked him down the street over to the district attorney's office. Marlissa Farah asked him if his family was unable to visit in Tuolumne County, or at least at first not able to visit. He said, yeah, they weren't able to visit. Whatever. Asked him if he had. Marlis Farah asked Robert Woody if he had established a relationship with Steve Jacobson. Remember, Woody's been calling him Jake, not Jacobson. He's been calling him Steve and Jake. And Jake is what everybody, all his friends, call him. He said he had bonded with Jake the first time that he had met him on one of those interviews. It was probably on March 1st or something along that lines. He was asked if he felt the same about Kurt Bunch, if he had bonded with him, and he said no. He didn't feel that connection with Kurt Bunch, only Jake. Steve Jacobson, Kurt Bunch, and John Evers were doing the interview on that first interview, again, February 28th, that went overnight to March 1st, 2014. He was asked who talked the most in that interview. It was Kurt Bunch and John Evers. With that interview of the polygraph with Agent Jefferson, again, he had denied any knowledge about anything that they're saying happened, and he's not sure. He says he's not sure why he denied that after saying some things in the first interview, and then he's told Jacobson in a transportation he didn't know anything, and he's told Jefferson he didn't know anything. He was still in custody up until, well, he's still in custody now, but she's given a date of August of 2015. That's when the other defendants were taken into custody, and he got to watch them being booked at the sheriff's office. They had him a camera, or however they did it, I don't know. He was watching these other people get booked. He was asked if the Atwells ever helped him or visited him in the jail. He says no, they never did, and he had a bitter look on his face. He was asked if the Atwalls were out of custody until August of 2015. He said, yeah, and he had that bitter look on his face again. And he said that he was asked how that makes him feel. Marlissa Ferrer loves asking them how they feel. It says it did not make him feel good. He was going down for their mud, M-U-D. They were getting away with all the wrong things they did, and he was in custody, and there was objections because it goes to 1101 evidence, which is prior bad acts. You can't attack their character, even though they constantly do it. You're not supposed to attack their character, and that's what 1101 is. So, another sidebar, and then the judge decides that's it for the day. She sends a jury outside just for a minute, and they agreed they come back 9 a.m. Tuesday. There's no court tomorrow. And she brought the jury back in, and she was addressing the jury. She said in regard to the time estimation request that she received, and there was 2 of them from 2 jurors, their employers want to know, and I think they have a right to know. She says the best estimate, and Judge Zuniga was very nervous about this. She wasn't sure of herself at all on this. And she says the best estimate is that the evidence will be done by March, at the end of March. And then they will have to go into deliberations, however long that takes after that. And she started to release the jury, and Percy Martinez stood up and said, Your Honor, the defense is ready to do their case right now, and we can do it in short order. And Judge Zuniga flipped her cookie. She was yelling very loudly that it was inappropriate. She struck his comments. Jai Goheld also stood up and says that he was going to say that he was ready to start his case, and they could do it in short order. But the judge says it's inappropriate. And I looked away for just a second. I looked back, and Judge Zuniga was off the bench. She was gone. So the defense attorneys have been long waiting to get this done themselves. And they said so right in front of the jury as they were getting ready to leave today, and it made the judge extremely pissed off. But she gets mad at them, extremely mad at them, and Marlissa Ferrer does the thing she did, like she did yesterday, when she told the judge and mouthed off to the judge quite a bit yesterday, and the judge doesn't do anything about it. So that's where we're at. That was the end of the day. Again, we don't come back until Tuesday, 9 a.m. No court tomorrow. And remember, if anybody, I'm gonna put up a poll. I'm going out of town for a couple of days, but when I come back, I'm gonna put up a poll and see if people want Blog Talk Radio back, where they can call in. I haven't been able to find another service that takes phone calls. Spreaker works pretty good. It's good quality and stuff. It's pretty easy to use once we make the transition. But Blog Talk Radio has the call-in feature, and I really like that when people like to call in and ask questions. Just not enough people were doing it, and I ran into quality problems with the recordings and the broadcasting. So I can try it again if you guys want. We'll talk about that. Well, I'll put up a poll and see what you guys think. So don't forget, I have a PayPal button on the bottom of each post. You can make a donation, or somebody asked me today how else they can pay because they hate PayPal, and I hear that a lot. I have my post office box address on the website, on the side, in the blue sidebar. On computers, it's on the side. On phones, it's on the bottom. It's Post Office Box 1115 in Houston, 95326. If you want to mail in a donation, make checks out to Marty Carlson Services. So don't forget my sponsor in Merced Tile Supply. He really, and I'm not just saying it because he's a sponsor. I've seen the products he's got, and I've talked to him about this stuff, and he knows what he's talking about, and he knows what he's doing. And he doesn't carry linoleum; he just carries the good stuff, but it's good, affordable stuff. I've been over there a couple times, looked at his stuff, and he knows what he's doing. He's laid that stuff for years, and now he's supplying products. So, and he has all the accessories to lay the stuff too. So, give him a call. His name is Doug, and there's a video up in the featured part of my website. The top post, it'll say featured on them. Look for a video that says Merced Tile Supply on it, and go from there. So the support has been good. It's steady. It keeps the bills paid. That's all I'm really trying to do, is just keep the bills paid. Buying transcripts now and then, and this all costs money. The website and everything costs money. So like I say, as I always say, don't take my word for it. Come to court and find out for yourself. Good night, everybody.